Hi, thank you for joining us for our Kids First Parenting series, Connecting with Your Child to Build Resilience. My name is Mia Wilson, and I am a child and family therapist and an early childhood consultant. Today, you're going to be watching part 4, where we're talking about the integration of your child's brain. The material we'll be using today comes from two experts in the field of childhood social emotional health, Dr. Tina Payne Bryson and Dr. Dan Siegel. Together, they have co-authored 3 books, The Whole Brain Child, No Drama Discipline, and their newest book, The Yes Brain. Our goals for today are to introduce you to a couple of concepts, integration and disintegration. We also want to share a few strategies that will help you shift your child's brain to an integrated state. So integration means, in general, when different parts are working together well. Today, of course, we'll be talking about the emotional right brain and the logical left brain. When our emotions are flying high and when our children's emotions are flying high, remember, as we said in our last segment, that your child is really stuck, or we're really stuck in our right brain at that time, the emotional brain. And when this emotional moment is happening, the right brain and the left brain are actually not working together. They actually can't. The left brain, it's kind of like it's just not even online right now. We call this disintegrated state, when the two parts are not working together. So when we are using left brain strategies with our child, it's like we're speaking another language. Our child can't even hear what we're saying. They're really stuck in the right brain. And you remember that the two sides of the brain are really different. The right brain is very emotional, very creative, very illogical and musical, and really responds well to nonverbal cues. The left brain, very logical, very linear, very literal. So disintegrated states can be really complicated for us as parents. So I'd like you to take a minute to imagine what happens as a parent when you're expecting your child to really access left brain skills that are logical and linear and literal. If we're expecting our child to access those kinds of skills, but they're really stuck in their right brain and the left brain and the right brain are not communicating, you can see how that's not going to work very well. Let's say your child is fired up about something that a sibling has done and is about to take matters into his own hands. But you have an opportunity to intervene. So if your child is stuck in the right side and can't access the left side, it's not going to work to use the left brain strategies. So we want to be able to get our child to a more integrated state. But before I tell you how to do that, so the integrated state is when the right brain and the left brain are working together. They've connected, the child has access to the left brain again and isn't just looping in the right brain. That's the integrated state, and that's really where we want to get our children so we can be helping them. So before I go into how do we do that, I want to give you a little bit more information about integrated and disintegrated. I think this might kind of help lock in those definitions for you. So another way to think about disintegrated states is also to call it a reactive state. When our child's brain is in a disintegrated state and the right and left brain are not communicating, they're in a more reactive state. So you can kind of imagine when you think about your child having big emotions, nothing's making sense that you're trying to say to them. It's not working. They're much more reactive, much more flared up. And then you can imagine when your child calms down and after a few minutes and the two sides of the brain are more integrated, they're much more receptive to what we have to say. So we really want to get our child to an integrated and receptive state, because then they can hear what we're saying, and anything we want to do to help them will be more helpful. Okay, so let's talk about how we integrate. Connecting with our child during these emotional moments will really help the left brain and right brain come together again. This brings your child to a state of integration and also makes him more receptive to things that you're doing. So what we need to do to connect these two sides of the brain is connect using right brain strategies, our right brain strategies that we're aware of, to connect with our child's right brain. The other ones that we might use more impulsively or more instinctually are probably left brain strategies. Keep in mind that it's really critical for us to stay calm ourselves. You really are going to have a hard time calming your child down and bringing them to an integrated state if you're not integrated. So the benefit, and we're going to talk about what connection looks like, but the benefit of connecting with your child is really threefold, and I think it's really nice to know what these are. When we connect with our child's right brain, using right brain strategies, we're going to move our child from that reactive state to a receptive state. So in the moment, this is going to be really helpful, connecting. When we're connecting, we're also wiring our child's brain for resilience, regulation, and empathy. So it really helps our child for the future too, because it's really helping with the brain development and developing those resiliency skills that we've been talking about. And the third piece of connecting in these emotional moments is that it really strengthens your relationship with your child. When we start commanding and demanding and getting all logical on our child and it escalates the situation, they feel like we don't understand them. So if we can connect, that's really, really helpful for 3 reasons. Okay, so how do we connect? What does this look like? How do we integrate our child's brain? So one of Dan and Tina's hallmark strategies that's really helpful in almost every situation, and incidentally, these are really helpful with adults in your life too. Their strategy that they talk about is called connect and redirect. So remember, when your child's in a reactive state, they're also in a disintegrated state. Trying to reason is not going to work. So if you stay calm and use strategies that are from the right brain, we're talking about things like pausing and then taking a deep breath. We're talking about using comforting touches, really being careful that our tone of voice is really comforting, supportive. We want to watch our facial expressions because remember, the right brain really picks up on these nonverbals. We want to use a lot of empathy and validation of their feelings. And just, overall, we want to convey, I'm right here with you in this moment, and I know it's really hard. So for example, it might be something like this. Oh no, your special toy broke? I can tell you feel really sad about that. I can see it on your face. I'm so sorry. It's really disappointing when our toys break, isn't it? So right there, you've connected with your child's right brain, you're using right brain strategies, and now you'll probably see a little shift in your child's body language where they're like, and they feel understood, and they're not quite so escalated. That's when you can come in and start using a redirect strategy. So this might be problem solving, this might be reminding of the rule, it might be setting a limit. So it might sound something like this. What would you like to do about this broken toy? I know, it's just so sad when this happens. What should we do? And then you might brainstorm a few options together. And then you might say something like, where do you think these special toys should live so this doesn't happen again? So that's where you're starting to problem solve and trying to teach the lesson. So that's the famous connect and redirect. And like I said, it's a very useful tool. Another tool that you can use, and these tools come from the Whole Brain Child and No Drama Discipline books. Another one to help with integration is called Name It to Tame It. And basically this is, again, getting into the parts of our brain and what's happening. When we name the feeling that our child is having, our brain recognizes that someone understands what's happening and we've just put a name to it, and it really calms the brain activity down right away, which helps to soothe our child. Another thing that we can do that's related to Name It to Tame It is to get our child to name how they're feeling and to also talk about what just happened. Those naming the feeling and also talking about what happened are very left brain. And so when we can get the child to do that, it brings those two parts of the brain together. But you're connecting with your child first, you're there in a supportive manner, and then get them to name their feeling and talk about it. That will really help bring some integration. We're going to take a look at Dr. Dan Siegel talking about the Name It to Tame It strategy.
there are studies that everybody should know about that I summarize with the phrase, name it to tame it. So if you're really agitated, you're frightened of being rejected again, or you're really upset with what happened, or you're angry or whatever, in Maria's right brain, I can tell you this, in addition to right and left, there's, now please excuse these incredibly simplistic statements, but there's an upstairs brain and a downstairs brain. Now, I'm fine with that for this parenting book, but believe me, my other foot is in science, and the scientists would see that and go, what? But the fact is, there's a cortical rim where a lot of this higher stuff goes on, and there's everything below the cortex. So if you take your thumb and put it in the middle of your fingers and put your hands over the top, give this a try. This would be in my brain like this, see? And so this would be the cortex where you do all your thinking and planning and all that kind of stuff. If you lift up your cortex, you have everything below the cortex, which we call the downstairs brain. That's reasonable. Downstairs is just a substitute for the word subcortical, which freaks parents out. So downstairs. And it's the upstairs brain is the cortex. Okay? So you lift up your upstairs brain, you go to your downstairs brain, that's the subcortex. It's the limbic area, and it's the brainstem. These are very ancient circuits responsible for things like emotion and motivation and fight, flight, freeze reaction and your arousal states, whether you're awake or asleep, stuff like that. So what happens at that moment is, if we did a scan on your brain, we would say that your right amygdala, your limbic area, and your downstairs brain, the downstairs brain would be super active. I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. And studies show that if you have this kind of presence and of mind, I can get Maria's left brain to name the feeling from the downstairs brain. And you can show that she will squirt soothing neurotransmitters down to her right limbic area, right downstairs brain, and calm it down. Okay, so we quickly summarize that entire set of studies with name it to tame it. And so that's all parents need to know. In the book, we didn't put any of this stuff, but everything is backed up by science, believe me.
So what does that look like? I come to you and I have a problem. What do you?
So here's what it looks like. So let's say you're agitated about being rejected by your friends. So I give you the hug. All I'm doing at that moment, not naming anything. You don't jump to that. First, it's connect, and then redirect. So that's, we have these strategies, connect and redirect. So the idea is, first I connect with my right hemisphere. That helps soothe your whole system, but you're still nervous about going back to school. So then I say, well, let's talk about it. And you say, well, this happened, and she was there, and she was going to go to the party, but she didn't want to go, and then they turned away from me. They wouldn't have lunch with me. And I said, sounds like you're really feeling a big feeling of fear, that when you go to school tomorrow, no one's going to want to have lunch with you. So we're naming fear.
And I thought I was angry.
And maybe you were angry too.
But it helps to have the
right. But you have to actually name the accurate emotion.
Yeah, I hear that.
Right? Because we could say, well, you're feeling excited to go for popsicles, but that's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not just naming anything.
And when you name it, it registers as true. That's what I'm getting at. Is sometimes we think we're angry, but in fact we're sad or we're fearful. So by you saying fear, it might in fact.
That would calm your downstairs brain. Yeah. Right. So at that moment, then we're using first connecting with the right hemisphere helps the system get stabilized. You don't feel alone. The next step is to name it to tame it. So I'm going to now help you with my left brain, because I'm going to use both my hemispheres together and go, gosh, I wonder what my daughter's really feeling here. And I'm not going to tell you what you're feeling, but I would say something like, I wonder if you're feeling scared. And then in Maria's brain, the whole system comes down.
So there's a great example of how name it to tame it works, and I couldn't have explained it any better, obviously. Thank you, Dan. So now you have an idea of what name it to tame it looks like and how it really helps soothe your child's brain. Incidentally, this integration work that we're talking about here, the goal is to have your child work towards a brain that is integrated much of the time, or to become an adult that has an integrated brain much of the time. But it takes a long time. It takes a long time for that to happen. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Please look for our other parenting videos in our series and in our other series. There are a lot more great tools from Dan and Tina in their books, No Drama Discipline, The Whole Brain Child, and The Yes Brain. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Our contact information is on the slide. And please take a look at the other resources we've listed for you. Thank you.